You're welcome to the Making of Me podcast. Today I'm joined by Mike Mcglothlin, Executive Vice President of Retirement, Leadership Coach, and Wellness Advocate. Mike's journey blends finance, leadership, health, and longevity in a way that's both practical and deeply human. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Mike.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. So, Mike, you have said that challenge that shaped you the most was learning how to leverage your introverted perspective in a sales role. When did you first realize of being introvert?
Well, I think that when you go through a lot of different testing about personality and things like that, you end up saying, hey, I'm an introvert. And I'm not the one that's usually just the life of the party.
Yeah,
But I think that a lot of studies have shown that being an introvert is really positive from a sales aspect because the most important part of sales is listening and understanding how you can serve others. And so many people, being an extrovert, they go out and they just kind of, we call it spilling your candy out on the floor. And
yeah,
here's what I do. Here's how I can help you. You may not even know whether that can help that person. And so being an introvert really starts the foundation for learning about the other person and putting the other person's interest first.
yeah, amazing. I think it really speaks a whole lot of volume, Blaine, that introvertedness can actually be in the fact that you're willing to listen before you actually get to talk, compared to where you just want to talk for solutions when you don't even know what the problem is. Yeah, that's really amazing. So sales is often associated with big personality and loud voices. How did you redefine what success in sales look like for you?
Yeah, I think sales and any success is deeply personal. I think that you have to define what you want to get accomplished. And for me, it was how do I, in my role now, it's how do I help more individuals increase their probability of success in retirement? There are so many risks in retirement. And then also from a health standpoint, how can we educate our local community in different modalities like salt therapy, red light, cryotherapy, personal training? How can we help people change the mindset to wellness versus healthcare? Because wellness is a habit and healthcare is an event. And it's an event that you typically don't want to have. And so success is being able to continue all of those things that you want to for many, many years to come as you age.
Yeah, amazing. I think the way you just define it's related to awareness ahead to really speak volume, meaning that instead of using heads as more from the cureness of what the illness should be, but you actually more like embrace well-being. Yeah, amazing. So you have actually grown a business from $350 million out to over $400 billion. What leadership principle help you or skill without losing your value?
Well, I think that the most important thing is that we had an intentional plan. When I was hired in 13 years ago, I presented a business plan to the CEO. They invested appropriately, and we've been able to execute. So you have to plan and plan with a purpose, and then you have to execute on that plan. And then throughout that time period, things haven't always gone our way. There's been some uncontrollable mergers and acquisitions with some of our key accounts. Those are all things that are going to happen during your plan. But within your plan, you have to be able to pivot and say, hey, if this happens, I'm going to go this way. Or if this happens, I'm going to go another way. We've been able to continue executing and continuing to grow, even though that we've had some challenges over the last 13 years.
Wow, that was really, really amazing. So you actually use the phrase often now that leading with leading responsibly. What does that look like in day-to-day decision making?
Yeah, I think that that's kind of a guiding principle for me, Benaya, that I've gone through some works with my business coach, and you kind of circle all the words that apply to you and then kind of eliminate that. And I ended up with lead responsibly. And in a day to day basis, that is really balancing a lot of different roles. First of all, I have a role to shareholders to be able to produce and to create profit, but I also have a role to my sales team to be very cognizant of their challenges, to be there and be present for them, and to help them have success. And one of the things, back to your original question, is I make sure that I understand what does success look like for all of my salespeople as well, which is again part of being an introvert, that I have to listen to those sales teams. And then we just kind of put all of those things together to make sure that we roll up and that we meet our expectation of profitability and of sales. But day to day, it's about doing the right things, even when people are not looking, and making sure that you drive towards the common goal. That is really about lead responsibly.
Yeah, that was really amazing. Yeah, leading day to day, even when no one is not looking. Yeah, amazing. So you actually spend time as a student manager under Coach Bob Knight. What is
Mhm.
one lessons from him that still influence how you lead today?
I think the biggest thing that I left after 4 years as a student manager was discipline. And that
Mm,
starts with the plan itself. Coach Knight had a great saying. I think the other football coaches have used it previously, but he always said, everyone has a will to win, but few people have a will to prepare to win. And that
mm.
preparation to win has been critical to my success. Don't ever think that having a plan may slow you down. When you take a step back and have a plan and be intentional, that allows you to be free when things happen, and that provides guardrails for you so that you don't go off the cliff. And so having that plan has been critically important at all levels of my business.
Your work is deeply in retirement or planning. What is the biggest mistake most people actually make when thinking about retirement too late?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of risk in retirement right now, especially in the United States. We just haven't saved enough money. For most people, we're misusing Social Security, our government program. We're losing guaranteed income in the form of pensions left and right. And then obviously, we're living longer than ever before. Here in the United States, we're living 2.5 years for every decade. So if you're retiring at age 65 and you planned on living to age 85, you're actually going to live 5 extra years. So you need 25% more money. And that's a scary situation for a lot of Americans. Therefore, what you need to do is making sure that you have guaranteed income in the form of a pension, in the form of annuity, so that you have your base expenses covered. When you can live comfortably with your base expenses and know that you're not going to have to run out of money, that allows you to do some of the other things and do the enjoyment. That's part of retirement. But making sure that you take those risks off the table, that's part of the planning process, right? So that when I turn on my retirement and I activate my retirement, I want to do a lot of stuff, but I need to know that the back end is taken care of.
Knowing that the back end is taken care of. That's really inspiring. And the fact that that alone could actually be a motivation of putting things right so that when you get to retire, everything will be right. Yeah. So you also more like focus on health and wellness. How did our living with diabetes change the way you think about performance and longevity?
Yeah, so I had a big shock 30 years ago when I was diagnosed as a diabetic, and that kind of puts a new whole light on your life, right? You got to
Yeah.
eat differently, you've got to exercise differently, and things like that. Through the course of my disease, I managed it really well until I turned 50. And like so many people, your metabolism kind of slows down. Mine just, the brakes went on. And so I ended up having to go on insulin, pharmaceutical, and medication. And I got really frustrated early because the doctor's response was always just, turn up the pen a little bit and add more insulin. Well, I thought that there had to be a better life. And
Yeah.
so I made some additional changes. I increased and changed the way that I exercise. Dramatically changed my diet to a ketogenic diet. And I was able to get off of 18 units of insulin more than 10 years ago. And I've never been back on insulin. And today my numbers are super good. And so I always talk to people in our facility about wellness, and that again, wellness is habit. Wellness is doing some of the very little things on a consistent basis that put your body in the best possible position. And so I encourage people to do cryotherapy, red light therapy, salt therapy for more oxygenation. Those are all things that are really easy to do, and they can help your body, because at the end of the day, God gave us this incredible body and it's meant to heal itself. But sometimes we just need to kind of help it get over the hump a little bit. And so I encourage everybody to take a look at wellness modalities that maybe your doctors aren't saying, and how you can help your body recover better.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for the message. I think it's very, very key that being that the body being like a machine that does more like a day-to-day job, it needs services, it needs some level of exercise, it needs some awareness, and putting some basic things into practice is really, really key to us sustaining it. And just hearing from your own end how to get started, and the fact that you're able to change a whole lot of things, reduce the learning, owing to the fact that you show up every now and then, make plans and go after it. It's really, really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not you don't have to go off the charts. You just have to take small little changes and
Yeah.
do it consistently.
Yeah, thank you. So running your personal best half marathon at 59 is impressive. So what role did recovery took, like therapy and harotherapy really play?
One of the things that I've learned over the years is that in order to exercise and even just to perform in your job, to be really energetic and really responsive to your job, no matter what it is, you need to have your body really in a great position to win. And that is about recovery. And so my training was very disciplined. I would run 5 miles on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I would do my long run of 10 to 15 miles on Saturday. I would always go do cryotherapy, get my legs in compression boots to get all the lactic acid out. All of those things help your body recover so that by the time that you get to your next workout, it's prepared to perform. And so I was able to increase my speed and perform better and better at each training session. And when I focused in on that recovery, that helped me to perform. And a lot of people will overlook that recovery. They think, hey, I should be sore. I should be tired. Doesn't have to be. In fact, you should be energetic. You should be ready to go for your next training event, and you should be ready to go to work your very next day if you're recovered properly.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing with us your processes, how you get to do it. I think it just makes a whole lot of difference on how we could actually engage it too. Yeah, so Mike, you operate at an intercept of money, health, and purpose. Why do you believe that financial success without awareness isn't sustainable?
Well, I just think, again, people just kind of define success how they want to. And it's key to
Yeah,
understanding what that success is, right? Someone may say financial success for me is traveling. Other people may say that financial success for me is passing along my wealth to my kids. We do a lot of work with guaranteed income, and we have like a grandparent and a child own an annuity so that when that grandparent passes away, that income continues to that grandchild. But
yeah,
what we also recommend is that the grandparent write notes to their grandchild so that after they're have passed away, their custodian can give that grandchild a note when they receive that annual payment. And it's about, hey, graduating from high school, what it meant for them to graduate from college, getting married, their first child, their first house. That way, you begin passing along family values
yeah.
and you're not just passing along wealth. And so, a lot of people will define financial success in terms of value and family values. And that's really important when you have to understand that and how you can get that accomplished.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I think this is more like a very holistic way of defining success, not just the monetary values, but the values you could actually more like pass on to, not just a monetary term, but in terms of wisdom, sustainability, and a whole lot. And it's really lovely. So for
Yeah.
introverts listening who feel overlook in leadership or sales, what advice will you give to help them thrive without pretending to be someone?
So I would say that there's a great story that I share when I'm speaking about one of
Yeah,
our basketball players who matured over the 4 years. He had a chance to take the last shot in a national championship game, but instead he saw some shot blockers. He turned around, gave it to a guard, and that guard hit the winning shot. He matured so much over 4 years. I think what's important for an introvert is that they stay authentic, but that authenticity is not a license for complacency. You always have to improve. You have to learn your craft better. You have to even enhance your listening skills as an introvert. And so don't change who you are, but also wrap people around you that can do the extrovert information, do the prospecting for you so that you can concentrate on what you do best, and that's building relationships long term, listening to your clients and your prospects, and for me, being analytical and planning and directing the rest of the team to have maximum success. So know who you are and leverage that, and also wrap around your weaknesses in order to have success.
So yeah, this has really been amazing. Yeah, thank you a whole lot for your wisdom, the stories you tell alongside with it, and showing us your process of how you do it differently. It really means a whole lot to me. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Mike, for my audience who want to connect with you, who want to reach out, who want to learn more from you, where can they reach out and where is the best platform to do this?
They can reach out to my website, which is www.mcgspeaks.com. That's the easiest place.
All right, definitely is going to be added to the show notes for my audience to reach out. Mike, thank you for sharing your journey and your perspective so honestly. If today's conversation resonates with you, or you can actually connect with Mike or book him for his speaking at workshop at mcqspeak.com. Once again, it's really a pleasure having you on the show, Mike.